Kirijo, you're welcome. Kindly share your screen and start your defending.
Okay, yeah, good evening. Okay. Yeah, good evening, Mr. Moses. Can you hear me? Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, so I'll be defending my projects right away now. So from what I've learned so far, basically this Python for data analysis. The first thing you do is you have to import your libraries. So you have the import pandas as PD, import numpy as np, import matplot matplotlib.py plot as plt, import cbon as nsn. So basically this pandas is a library, this numpy is also a library, matplotlib is also a library, cbon is also a library. So let me first explain what a library is. So libraries are collections of pre-written codes that you use instead of writing code. So these libraries that we have here, they've written the codes already. So you as a like programmer or a data analyst that want to use Python, you don't need to be writing some codes again. You just probably have a very shorter and cleaner codes because you already have your libraries there. So now what is the purpose of your pandas? The purpose of your pandas is for table. So just the way you have your worksheet in Excel, that's what your pandas does. It's more like your table, like the structure. So this table is possible because of the pandas. Then what is NumPy? NumPy is for numbers and mathematics. Then what is the math block for? The matplotlib is for graphs and charts. And there's a part here that shows this dot py plot. So this dot py plot is a module. So it's when you say a module, so modules are like files of a Python code that has functions. So this module can be found under this matplotlib. Then we can see a dot there. Those dots are access, we call them like access operator, like they give you access to a particular, like let's say particular library. So with this dot now, you can have access to the library inside the library, which is matplot. Then we have the cbon. So cbon also works on the matplot, but is like a better, or let's say it gives you a very clean and easier path. That's just the basics of this. So the dot is an attribute access operator. So it gives you access to like the library. So we use them in like if you are trying to access a module or something like that. So now we could also say import pandas without saying as pandas. Now saying import pandas as pandas, this PD now. So anytime I want to call the library, instead of just calling, for example, let me use this file as an example. We said fav like fav, that's the variable name. So fav file equals to PD. So I know we didn't say import pandas as PD. You can just use pandas.read. So this is just like a short way of instead of calling pandas in full, you can just always use PD. You can always use NP, you can use PLT, you can use NS, NSN. So that's just like the advantage. So this import here is a keyword, and we learned about keywords, which are reserved words or let's say special words that we use in Python. Are you with me, sir? Hello? Hello?
I
Hello?
am with you. You can continue. I'm
Okay.
with you. You can continue.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay, so the ask, so there are different types of keywords, but I'll not go deep. So we have the import keyword. The ask is also a keyword there. So then after this, the next thing we have to do is we click on this place. So mine is connecting, but I'm not going to waste too much time. So while it's connecting, it's going to give you like bring out some stuff where you see a part that says you should mount. So when you click on that mount is going to like connect your Google Drive. So because it's called Google Lab, Google Colab, you work with your Google, you connect your Google Drive. You see a place that says My Drive. From that My Drive, you are going to have your file there. There's also a particular arrow up that shows import. So you can also import your file, which will go to your local storage rather than going from the Google Drive. So you click it on this part. So I wouldn't want to waste so much time by waiting for it to connect on this part. Then once you do again is you copy the file parts. You right click on that file, you copy it file parts. Now we see FAV underscore file. That's the snake case. We use snake case mostly to name our variables in Python. So there are other cases, but snake case that's under naming convention. So if you see in most like common Python work, you see people use DF. DF means the data frame. So when you're saying data frame, just like the structure of your data. So you could use any variable name. This is a variable name. I chose to use faith rather than using DF, which is a very general one that people use. So DF, which is so now this DF, this file name, which is this variable name, which is faith, means that anytime we want to call like our data, this our table, this our structure, our data frame, anytime you just print this name, yeah, anytime you print this name, it will call like your variable because no variable is a storage. So we are already storing file inside this place. Now we say PD. PD is a library that enables us to be able to read this CSV file. So now this read CSV is the built-in function of this library. It's the one that gives us access to be able to read this file. So we could also have read underscore Excel if it's an Excel file. So it depends on your extension. You could have an extension which is Excel file. You could have an extension which is CSV. So you could have PD dot read underscore Excel depending. And if you open your commas, your parentheses, and ensure you put your quotes, your quotation, because without your quotation, it's not going to run. Then you copy the file. So what does this line of code? What is it trying to say? This line of code is trying to say that um with this function, no, please go to this file path and help us to open this file path, which is sales data. That's the name of the data. So this read underscore CSV tells us that please read this file because we have this PD, which is the pandas. The panda is the library that enables us to have this data frame. So it just reads the file for us and it turns it into a table. Then I printed it. When I print it, it gives faith. So in some IDE environment, you can just press print faith. But since this is Google Colab, once I put faith and I just automatically bring my data set for me. So the next one we have there is the time frame, which is so I what I did was I called this is the file like my variable name. Now we use a square bracket when we are trying to look for a colon. So this there's a colon here that has other dates. If you look at it, this is other dates. So my square bracket is saying okay, inside this data frame or inside this variable, which is whatever fav file, look for this like this other dates which you already have here. Now I use my PD, which I'm also calling it, and this is like a function. So inside this function, I have my file name again. I'm also calling the other dates. Then when I run this code, now you see this part that says maximum. The maximum is trying to like tell us we are looking for the like highest date. When did this start? When did this stop? Since Python understand codes, when you say mean is like the minimum date, the starting date and the stopping date. That's the max. So when you run it, you can see that we have that the minimum date, that means the least date it started from was 2019 to 2019 of January. Then it's also putting the time also too. then also to 2020 of January. So that's about 1 year interval. So from the text, I wrote that the start date was 2019-01. Then given the time, that was around 3:07. That's the earliest date we have. So 3:07 a.m. And then the end date was 2020 January 1. So that means that the date covers a one. This data set is just a date that was within a 1 year period. Now the next thing we have here is shape. Sorry, how many rows and columns are here in the data set? So there are many ways to do this, but I pick one of the ways to do it. So now you see print. So now print is a function. So for every inbuilt function that you have in Python, you use a parenthesis. This is called a parenthesis. This bracket you see. So we have three type of brackets we use in Python. We use the parentheses, we use the curly brackets. Curly brackets are basically used for set operation and I think dictionaries also. Then you use your normal brackets, which is your parentheses. You use them for your, like when you are trying to call a function, basically. Or maybe you have a method and you want to assign an attribute to that method. You are going to use that function. Then also you are going to use this parenthesis. Then you have your square bracket. When you want to call a colon, so let's say for example now I want to call this colon. I'm referring to this colon. I'm going to put inside a square bracket. So or maybe you want to give a list. In list too, sometimes we use that square bracket. So just in case you are seeing why are we using this bracket and we're not using this other bracket. So now what does this say? Print. What is print? Print is a built-in function that helps you to display. So it's a Python built-in function that helps you to display your data set. So print, then this is a string. So strings are usually in colon. So what is this trying to tell us? That when you print, make sure that the name, the string, the text is shape. What is comma? The comma there is just for you to differentiate, like to give you your value. That's what you are returning, to give it in a particular order. So I'm separating it from this. So I say print, then you have a string which is going to be this shape name, this shape. This is the string is going to return. Then from this file, which is the name of the variable, the data set, which some people use as df, data frame dot shape. I've already told us what our dot is, and I said the dot is an attribute access operator. It's used to access something within an object that belongs to an object. So in Python, when we are saying an object could be a module, it could be a class, depending, but I'm not going to go too technical into that part. So now this shape, what is this shape? The shape is an attribute of pandas. So when you say an attribute do not need parentheses. That means you don't need to put them into a parenthesis. What does an attribute do? An attribute will just give you an information. They don't manipulate data. So what exactly now? We already have this our data set here. This is our data set, which have our columns here and our rows. We can see it here that it has already shown us our colon, our rows, and our column. So now when you say something is an attribute will only give you an information as regards what you have in that your data set. That's what make an attribute different from a method. So for every method, because a method is also going to contain dots. Now let me use this as an example now. This is a method. It contains dots inside, right? This is an attribute. An attribute also has these dots. So these dots means that you are going to access shape from this data frame with the variable name fav5. So when we bring it out, the shape here is just telling us that it is the dimension. So this is the rows we have, this is the column that we have. So we printed it out. So I wrote in my text that we have 195,150 rows and 11,000 columns. So let's move. They say, are there missing values? Yeah. So just the way we in our Excel, we are going to use this function, which is called did I call the function? Let's say function. In Excel, we use your count blank to check if you have missing values missing values. So in this your Python here, you use your is null. So now let me break this down. When you say print, I told you print is a function of Python. You see that it has, that's why you are using your parentheses for it. You can see this blue parentheses. Now this is your string. So print missing value. That's when you print, you are going to have this one missing value. Now you have this slash and n. They are called escape sequence. And we have a lot of escape sequence in Python. We have like your slash t, you have your slash t is for tab. So something like this. Let me see if I can if I can show it. Slash t, you have slash t which is for tab, you have your slash, you have your slash slash colon, sorry, slash colon slash quotation. So depending on any of this, you can use any of these. This one is to give you a slash, this one is to give you a colon. So you could use single colon or double colon. So they are called escape sequence. So what does this escape sequence, what does your Python interpret it? It interprets it as go to the next line. So your Python is going to interpret this as go to the next line. That's why you can see that it's our stuff after this missing values. We can see that it's going to the next line under missing values. Now we put a comma, and I've told us what to use the comma to. It's just for order to separate what we are doing there. So we can see um so this just represent a new line. This represent a new line. Then you can see this is our variable, the data frame. Then you have is null. So is null is the method that we use to check inside this data frame if we have missing value. So now there's what we call method chaining. So a method chaining is when you have a method inside a method. So example, now you can see dot sum. By using dot sum and dot is null. So this is a method inside a method. Now you can only use a method inside a method when you have a value that you are going to return that this same sum. So let's say this is our method one, this is our method two. So this is null method one dot is sum method two. So now whatever I want to return is something that this method two, which is dot sum, can also return. So you can use that method when you have a method that is going to return something that your second method can also return. You can use your method chaining. So this is a method chaining, just a simply way of saying having methods in a method. Now I explained difference between a method and an attribute. Attribute will never take parentheses. An attribute is always going to give you an information. It is not manipulating your data sets. Unlike this your is none, which is a method. So it's manipulating your data set. So when you just use is none without is dot is sum, it's going to give you your values. Your data type is going to be bool. When you talk about bool, you are talking about the boolean, your true or false. So instead of saying 0 0 0 0 0 here, what you are going to be saying is true, false, true, false. So when you say true, it means that you have a missing value. When you say false, it means that there is no missing value there. So this dot sum will just sum up and give you in an integer. So you can see data type here, integer. So that 64 is just the bit. It's just telling you that that it can process. So that's your data type, integer. So you can see order ID product. So in each of these column, order ID products, this. It's trying to tell you that there is no missing value. So then the next part we have there is what are the data types in your column. So we have different data types. Basically, you have your floats. When you talk about your float is usually your decimal. You have your integer, that is your own numbers. You have your objects. Your objects could be text or string. You have your data and time. So these ones are like data type in pandas that helps you to give you your dates and your time. Then you see this ns. This nn means nanoseconds. So it's a like a subunit of time. Just where you have milliliter, millimeter. So in your seconds, you have milliseconds, microseconds, femtoseconds, pictoseconds, nanoseconds. So it's just showing the precision at which these pandas helps you to measure the dates at the most like slightest measurement. So when you say your data type, you just say print, which is a built-in function. So this data type is a string, next line, comma, fav dot data type. So this is your data type. It's this word data type, which I've explained earlier. I said they are usually your attributes there. So dot data type, it just prints out your data type in this place. So then you can see that we have this data type, integer. So your order ID has integers, your product as object, which could be text or could be strings. When you say strings, strings are usually like they contain like your characters. It could be a name. So your float contains decimal. So since they are price, and you know price is going to have like your cents, your smaller value. Let's say if they are selling $1,000, point two. That point two is trying to show that your data type is a float. The point two is the cent. So let me see if I can type here. So let's say 1,000.20 50 cents dollar. So what does this mean specifically? So this is a float. Why is it a float? So I'm trying to explain the reason why this your price is going to be a float. It's going to be a float because you are going to be dealing with money, and then you are going to have dots 59. So this decimal is just the cents, and this is the dollar. Okay, so I've explained it here. Whole numbers, decimals, they are text strings, date time, and I've explained that this is nanoseconds just to tell you the precision at which it like gives you your date and your time. Okay, so let's move on. So are there any duplicates in the data sets? So I don't duplicate in data sets. So let me use Excel to explain this. So in Excel, you can convert something to a table. When you convert to a table, you can just delete duplicate, or there are like different ways to actually delete duplicate. You could go to data. If you don't convert to table, you could go to data, and then from your data delete the duplicates that are there. So but now in Python we are dealing with codes definitely, so we cannot go and be looking for where to any tab here. So you print number of duplicates, which is what I want to name it. Comma, like I said, what the comma is used for. It just separates multiple items. So it's separating this from this. So this is our data frame. Duplicated is a method. So if I don't use that dot sum, it's going to return my value in true or false. So it's going to give me like an array showing me true or false, the duplicated values that are there. But since I put my dot sum, like I explain when you say you when this is a method chain because you're having a method inside the method. And I told you method usually carry parentheses. So if I didn't put this my dot sum here, it's going to give me like an array. It's going to show me my data set. It's going to show me most likely the duplicated values. If there are duplicated values there, it's going to return it's false and some. But since I put my dot sum, it will calculate it and just give me an integer. So there's no duplicated values there. Then the next one we have is give a quick statistical description of the numeric. So what we use is also a method, which is your describe. So your describe is a method which I've so your describe so let me just explain for you. The statistics is the string showing you this. Then this is your escape sequence. We are going to start from your next line. So what does this like explain specifically? So this is going to tell you like the statistics. You can see your counts here. So what is your count here? So in each of your column is explaining you. So what is your count? Your count is telling you the total number of non-missing values. So all your total data set that is not missing, that's it. When you say your mean is your average value. We know our mean in statistics or in economics. When you are trying to calculate your mean, you calculate your mean by dividing by the total frequency that you have there. When you say frequency, the number of times a particular number occurs. Then you have your mean, your minimum value. Then so this 25%, 50%, 75%. This 25% is just talking about your There's what we call quartile, but those ones are like economic terms, so I'm not going to go too technical there. So these are like 25% of your values, 25% of your values below this. Then you have your 50%, which is like is your mean. When you say your 50%, that's your median, the mean value, the median value, sorry. And there's a formula for calculating median value. So it depends on if you have an even number or um an odd number. But that's like economics, so I'm not going to go into that. Then you have your 75%, which is also like, so there's what we call first quartile and your third quartile and your fourth quartile. Those are inside economics. Like if you do all this standard deviation or variance and stuff like that. So we do all those stuffs inside there. All this your distribution curve. Then you have your maximum value. So these are just, it's just counting your total your maximum value that you have here. Then your STD, which is your standard deviation. So for your standard deviation too, there is a particular um method, like a particular formula for it in your economics for standard deviation. Then you can use like your variance, square of your variance and stuff like that, or square root of your variance to get your standard deviation. So this is just for each of the columns that we have here. Then they say how many unique orders are there in the data set. So when you're talking about unique orders, that means orders that do not duplicate themselves. So that's just basically your unique order. So we have two types of unique, or two types of ways for looking, or let's say two type of methods. You have your dot n unique and you have your unique. So what is the difference between your dot n unique and your unique? So for your n unique, your n unique will return a single number. You can see that it is just returning the total numbers of unique values that are not duplicated there. Why, if I use unique, if I cancel this and use unique, the reason why I'm not running the code is I don't know if the code will run. I don't want any, like, I have to start running the code from the beginning. So let's say if I use my unique without using my n unique, I just cancel this and I just use dot unique. So it's going to display the unique values in an array. When I say in an array, like in this kind of tabular form here. So that's how it's going to display it. Instead of returning just the numbers. So that's just the difference. So when you say print unique orders, this is saying print unique orders. If I put um forward slash n, is it forward slash I use? It's most likely going to, if I print this out now, I think I'm supposed to put, right, sorry, something like this. It's most likely going to return. So it will, if I'm to print this out, as if I got it correctly, it's supposed to, okay, sorry, MZ, shift MZ, shift MZ. I've made a mistake there. So what I was trying to say is, if it's supposed to like return that value by making it go to the next line. So let me just explain what we have here. So you have this your file. Then you, now what is this square bracket saying? This square bracket is saying that from this your data frame, look into this column, and pick out what I need. So that's just what it's saying. Look into this column. So order ID, look into this column and pick out what I need. It's as simple as that. So now this is the next one. So what is the distribution of order status? So I tried running the code, but it didn't give me the code, which means that there's no column that has ordered status here. That's why the code did not run. So this one that you see here is just to print the available columns that we have here. So you can see available columns from the file dot columns, which is an attribute, dot to list, which is a method. So it just show me the available columns. So if from the columns we have here, we can see that there is no column of order status. So how many unique customers are here? So there was actually no unique customer there. So what I just use this unique, I just use this order date. So I use order date to just do it. So based on the orders. So some people could use based on the product. or maybe the order ID. So I think I use based on the order ID. Let me check what I use so far. Um, I use based on the order ID because the order ID represents the customers. So that's what I did. Then geographical insights. Which countries are included in the data set? So now, if you are going to notice in this place, I did not use n unique. If I use n unique in this place, it's just going to give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It will return the value as 9. Now there's no country here, but there is city. So I just use city. The country is obviously USA. So there's no country here. I use the word city. So I just, so you can see countries. That's why you can, it's printing out country as a string, like my data frame. And from it, I'm calling out this column. That's why so it's went to check for this column and brought out the unique like countries that are there, the ones that are not repetitive. So these are the countries that the orders are coming from. So what is the distribution of orders across different regions? So distribution of orders, I still went I so what I did was, now there's what you call your value, so your dot value count, which is also a method in your Python, in your is a method of your Panda. So what is the function of this? So this helps to count how many times each unique value appears. So now, so if you look at this thing, order per region, that's what I name this because it's asking about orders. So we don't have a region per se, so I just use city. So it's going to check in the city, in this column of city. This is the column of city. So this is the city. You want to check this column, like this city, this column of city here. You want to check everything inside. Then you want to count the number of unique values that we have in each of that column. So you can see in San Francisco, the unique orders we have is 44,732. And how does this thing work? This thing work in a descending order. That means it groups it from the highest to the lowest. So then you can see these are just labels. So what is this name showing count? That what we did was a count. So it's just a label. Then your data type, these are integers, whole numbers. Then can you identify the 5 cities with the highest number of orders? So the same thing is still to use your value counts. But like I said, that your value count, what it does is it's it would bring out your unique values there. So it's going to show like your index. Should I say an index and a value? Index and value. This is your index, this is your value, this is your index, this is your value. So it's showing you your index, is counting the total number. But now, since it works in descending order, what we did was to go and put another method. So this is a method here, dot edge. And we know what edge means. Edge is trying to tell us that the first row. So we have 5 here. What is 5? 5 is an argument. So an argument is usually inside a, so yeah, it's called an argument or a parameter. An argument is usually inside your method. So it's the one that is going to return what you want your method to do. So what are we saying? We say we want just 5, the first 5 rows. If we put tail here, it's going to, and we put 5, it's going to give us the bottom 5 rows or column. Yeah, rows. If you put 10 here as your argument, your like 10 values or whatever. So then uh how many unique products categories are there? So we just went to look for products. We just use n unique. So if I do not use n unique, it's going to actually give me like an index and a value. It's going to count each of the products. God's going to display it like an array. So now this is another part that we need to pay attention. We can see the group by. So what are the most popular product categories based on sales? So print sales by product. So what am I doing? This is just going to give you your string, like the text, what you want to appear. as the title there. So this is going to mean that whatever starts from here should start from the next line. So group by is a method. So now take note, since your method is always going to work with a parenthesis, that's why this your product is in a parenthesis. So we can say this product is more like let me say it's an argument. So inside this colon, so what are we saying now? We are saying that everywhere you see a product with a particular name, group them. So anywhere you see MacBook, group all MacBook under one, group their values. Anywhere you see iPhone, group all the values for iPhone. Anywhere you see ThinkPad, group all the values for ThinkPad. Then what are we grouping by? We are grouping by sales. Now take note, we are using our square bracket because obviously we are trying to tell it the column to look for. We used our parenthesis, which is this other bracket, because it is a method here. So now this dot sum is telling us that it should now help us to calculate. So let's say for example now under Mac Pro book you have like 10. So let me see if I can write a text here. So let's say for example under MacBook Pro you have like 6, um you have 6, then you have let me write it here. You have 6 under under iPhone. Let's say you have 5 under MacBook Pro. Let's say you have 11. So what is this group by going to do now? So this group by what is going to do is all MacBook Pro, MacBook Pro. It's going to just group them 6, 11 iPhone. You're going to put 5. So now group by sales, right? We have grouped them by sales. So this is like the sales. This is the group. What is now the sum? What is sum going to do? So this is what sum is going to do. Sum is going to put MacBook Pro. So 6 plus 11, that's 17. That's just exactly what it did. So then you can see dot sort values. So what is your sort value? Your sort value is also a method of the. So it's also a method. So what does it do? It helps you to sort. Just the way you have sort and I think sorted. Although we know sort and sorted, one is a keyword, one is I think a function. If I'm not making a mistake. So you can see this ascending equals to first. So this is an argument. It's just trying to tell you that it should help you sort it from like you're ascending. So it just tells you what to do, basically. So can you identify top 5 selling products? So it's still basically the same thing. You group by the product, the sales. So just add your dots edge. So it will give you the top 5. Then you say customer segregation. How are customers segregated based on the segment colon? So there's no segment colon there. So definitely it's going to tell you error. We don't have any colon. Assuming we created a colon for it now, would have probably be able to return values for it. So it's the same thing here too. So we don't have values for all this one. Shipping insights, shipping mode, patterns. So and this is the next part that talks about sales distribution. So now remember we have already imported the library of this maths plots and your Seaborn. So take note, we can SN. So um It's just like a shortcut, an alias, like a shortcut. Import pandas as speedy. So this is like your, and then this is a function. So what does this function do? It helps to create an histogram. This is an histogram. You can see these bars, they are histograms. So it's a function from this file name. So it's a function of your seaborn. So this is our file name. Yeah. Then which we're looking at, like the colon sales. Then you have your bin. These are arguments, and I've told us what arguments are. The argument will just help you to, you can see that it's within the bracket of this bracket. So these are bins. Bins are your, like, how do you divide your intervals? So we are dividing our intervals here by 50, right? So you can see this your this your horizontal, sorry, your vertical histogram here. We divide them, we are dividing these bars by intervals of 50. Okay. So come on, let me see something. Then you have your KDE. So your KDE is your kernel density estimate. Just basically shows you your curve. We can see this curve. So this curve is just showing us like the dip. Let's say where there is a dip, where there is a rise. So that's just what's your KDE. So your KDE is also an argument, like I said. So it's going to, is working based on this your east plot, which is a function that helps you to display this histogram. Then you have your PLT, which just says you should display. PLT dot shows means that you should display this. Just where you have prints. So this dot show means you should display. It's a method of this. Then dot title is also telling you that you should display this title as sales distribution. Then the next one you have there is your is are there any outliners in these sales? So we can see the code we run here. We have SNS, which I said is a short form for the Seaborn library. So which is used for plotting, basically for plotting. Then you have your X box. Your X box is a function used to create a box plot. So if you look at your box plot, this is your box plot. You can see this box, right? You can see this box. Then you can see this is a whisker. So this whisker just talks about the range of where your datas are shifting to, basically. So you have your dots here, and so that's just what this was just trying to let us know in this your outliner. So let me just try and explain what this like distribution is telling us from this outliner here. So we can see that, so when you say outliner, basically your outliner is just trying to like outline if you have any unusual data, or let's say unusual numbers, like is there any number that is going too high or any number that is going too low. So in this place you can see that you have your vertical bar, which is on the left hand side. This is your vertical bar on the left hand side, right? So this is your vertical bar, this one, like this blue thing, your vertical bar on your right hand side. So you can see that it's showing all the, you have your numbers that are close to it, right? Then you have your horizontal line, which shows like your numbers here. Then you have your dots. This your dots, these dots, they are scattered across. So they are like the outliners. So they are trying to tell you your sales. For example, now well, we can notice that most of these sales are pushed to the left hand side. This is your left hand side. So you have most of your sales around this 500, from 0 to 500. So these are most of the sales that were made. They were within this range. Then we have one that is within this 3,500. So it's just showing you where most of your sales went to. So that's just basics of your outline. So we can interpret this as saying that our data set or our sales is heavily skewed to the left hand. That means we have more sales on this side. So then we have just one big value which is within this 3,500. Then can you visualize the distribution of sales for each category? So This is just basically to visualize like each of these categories. So this is like pointing to the data sets that we have here. So this we have your for each of the categories. These are the categories we have MacBook. So we can point this to a particular value within is within the range of zero. We have 27-inch FD monitor is within this range here, and you can see that we have this laptop. So that would be like the highest order. We can also see that when we're doing our first five like unique or your distributions, we could see that your laptop was like one of the highest bought products. So you can see that it's showing within this range here, this place. So that's just the basics there. Then they say profits, calculate the profit order. So we can't basically get a profit margin here because we don't have like a data set or a column that represent our profit. And we know how to get our profits. When you're getting your profit, you have to look at your costs and your sales. So the difference between them will make you know if you made a profit or a loss. So what are the summary findings from this from our summary findings from this data set? We can tell that we have 185,950 orders. Then there's no missing value here. Then it was within a 1 year. So this data set was just a data set of a 1 year data set. Then geographical insights, we could see that orders were more concentrated in San Francisco. See the number of orders we had in San Francisco, followed by Los Angeles, followed by New York City. Then the top five cities. So these top five cities together account for a significant portions of the total sales. I think I only put three here. There are actually five of them. I just put three here. Then the highest selling product here is your MacBook Pro laptop, followed by iPhone, followed by this ThinkPad laptop, your Google phone, then this one. Then most orders consist of one item per purchase. So most items will actually one order per purchase. Hello, hello, Mr. Moses.
You can continue. You
Okay,
can
okay,
continue.
okay. So then this the average sales per order is approximately 185, but there are some high value outliners up to 3,400. So we could see that outliner that we did here. This is the outliner. So about 3,400. Just some few sales that were actually up to that amount. Then orders are predominantly placed between 11 a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. That's when people make their orders. And most times where we get the highest order is usually within 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So this suggests that the afternoon is the busiest period. So what are my recommendations? We should focus on high demand regions. So we already know our high demand regions, which is San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York City. We should prioritize inventory, marketing, logistics in these areas. So these are our top places. Promote high value products. The products that are basically sold most, which is these ones, and these ones. So increase average order value. Encourage customers to buy multiple items through bundle offers, cross-selling or discounts. Because you notice that most times it's mostly one item that are ordered. That's we could see it from this part that so most orders consist of one item per purchase. So we want them to order multiple items. Then in, encourage customer, like I said, optimize market timing. Since we already know where they buy is usually within 2 to 3 weeks. So this is the most busiest period. So we should optimize that period and make good use of it. Stock sufficient quantities of top selling products. Make sure we have them enough. There should not be any shortage. There should be, since they are always in high demand, we should ensure that there is fast delivery. Monitor seasonal demand for electronics, plan restocks, customer segmentation opportunities. We didn't really do anything on this part. Sha. Identify frequent single item buyers versus. So we know that some people that buy in bulk, and there's some people that buy just single item. Identify them to personalize promotion and improve customer retention. So this is just for better customer experience. So that's just the summary of this data set so far. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Akrejola. You did well. You did well, but I want you to scroll up to the first page where you imported. Okay. When you imported, you see that a column name or name. Are you with me? Name or name. You have to drop unnecessary column. You cannot just work with data that a table with a column that is not necessary. You have to make sure that your data are clean then before working on it. Now, did you see this on name column 0? So this column or name should be dropped. I think that column should be dropped. And okay, that is the only observation I have, and I love your presentation. You did well. You did well. So congratulations to you. Hello, hello, Akrejola. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me, Akrejola? Hello. Yeah, you did well. You did well. So I want you to keep it up and practice more on this you have learned in CM Tech. So Akrejola, can you unmute and speak if you can hear me?
Oh, oh, I've been muted.
Yes, you have been muted.
Oh, my sharing screen. Oh, was it talking?
I was talking to you.
Okay, okay, okay,
Okay, thank you. You did well. I appreciate you. So
okay,
keep up this great work you have done and also practice more. When you practice, you achieve a lot. So thank you. Good night and have a nice day.
okay. No problem. Thank you so much. Bye.